Hello everyone. So today we'll be doing chapter 2, which is understanding secularism. Okay. Imagine yourself as a Hindu or Muslim living in a part of the United States of America where fundamentalism is very powerful. Suppose that despite being a US citizen, no one is willing to rent their house to you. How would this make you feel? Would it not make you feel resentful? Resentful matlab hate. Hateful matlab you would not like it. What if you decided to complain against the discrimination and were told to go back to India? Would this not make you feel angry? Your anger could take two forms. First, you might react by saying that Christians should get the same treatment in places where Hindu and Muslims are in a majority. This is form of retaliation. So you would either retaliate or you might just take the view that there should be justice for all. You may fight, stating that no one should be discriminated against on the grounds of their religious practices and belief. This statement rests on the assumption that all forms of domination related to religion should end. This is the essence of secularism, domination, which, if there is a domination just because a particular religion. Is being dominated, then there should be end to it, and stating that all forms of religion are equal, and that's the beauty of secularism. In this chapter we'll read more about what it means in the Indian context. Okay. Here. History provides us with many examples of discrimination, exclusion, and persecution on the grounds of religion. You've read about how Jews were persecuted in Hitler's Germany and how several millions were killed. Now, however, the Jewish state of Israel treats its own Muslim and Christian minorities quite badly. In Saudi Arabia, non-Muslims were not allowed to build a temple, church, etc, nor can they gather in public place for prayers. So you can see how brutalist these are, whether we talking about Saudi Arabia, or we talking about, now we talking about the Jewish state of Israel. So this is here, what Israel did was a retaliation, that where it treats its own Muslims and Christians, very badly. In all the above examples, members of one religious community either prosecute or discriminate against the members of other religion. These acts of discrimination takes place more easily when one religion of a given official recognition by the state at the expense of others. Clearly, no one would wish to be discriminated against because of the religion nor dominated by another religion. In India, can the state discrimination against the citizens on the basis of their religion? No. India is a secular country. That means no particular religion is favored by the state. State, when I say state here, I mean India. Reread the introduction of this chapter. Why do you think retaliation is not a proper response to this problem? Would this happen if different groups followed this part? We are saying what Israel did was retaliation, because earlier, during the time of Hitler, in Germany, he prosecuted Jews just because they were Jews. Okay, so in retaliation, now in the Jewish state, which is Israel, their own Muslims and Christian minorities are not treated good. What is secularism? So basically, in the previous chapter you read about how Indian constitution contains fundamental rights that protects us against the state power as well as against any tyranny of the majority, matlab mispower. The Indian constitution allows individuals the freedom to live by the religious beliefs and practice as they interpret these. We have the freedom to live by our religious beliefs and practices. In keeping with this idea of religious freedom for all, India also adopted a strategy of separating the power of religion and the power of state. Secularism refers to the separation of religion from the state. This is what secularism means. It means that state and religion are two different subjects. They cannot be combined into one. So the three drawings in this chapter were done by students of your age. They were asked to draw on religious tolerance. So our unity lies in one our unity lies in our diversity. So they've drawn these pictures where all the prayer halls of all the communities are drawn together. Okay. So here is another picture which is drawn by Akshita Jain of class 5 Srijan School, Delhi, where you can see the this is drawing of earth, and you can see different people, all different, from different communities, whether Punjabi, Muslim, Sikh, and Hindu, all Christians, all are there, representing earth, regardless of any discrimination. Discuss in the class, can there be different views within the same religion? So yes, there can be different views even within the same religion. So why is it important to separate religion from the state? What is the logic behind keeping religion and state two different things? Let's see that. As discussed above, the most important aspects of secularism is its separation of religion from the state power. This is important for a country to function democratically. It is very important, so that, especially if it's a democratic country, almost all countries of the world will have more than one religious groups living in them. Within these religious groups, there will most likely be one group that is in a majority. If this majority religious group has access to state power, then it could quite easily use this power and financial resources to discriminate against and prosecute persons of other religion. That this tyranny of the majority could result in the discrimination, coercion, and at times even the killing of religious minorities. The majority could quite easily prevent minorities from practicing their religion. Any form of domination based on religion is a violation of the rights that a democratic society guarantees to each and every citizen, irrespective of their religion. If there's a domination by one people group of sorry one group of people who belong to one same particular religion, then that can call violation of fundamental rights, especially if it's a democratic country like India. Another reason that is important to uh, separate religion from the state in democratic societies is because it is need to protect the freedom of individuals. Why it is important to protect the freedom of individuals to exist from their uh, sorry freedom of individual to exit from their religion, embrace another religion, and have the same freedom to interpret religious teachings differently. To understand this point, let us take the practice of untouchability. Hinduism and Okay, you might feel that you dislike the practice within Hinduism, and therefore you want to try and reform it. However, state power were in the hands of those of Hindus who support untouchability. Then, do you think that you would have an easy task to try and change this, even if you were part of a dominant religious groups? You might face a lot of resistance from fellow members of your community. These members who have control of state power might say that this is only the one interpretation of Hinduism, and you do not have the freedom to interpret it different. So it is very important that it why, because it is, especially it is important that a democratic country like India functions properly. Then it is important to separate, because the tyranny of the majority could result in discrimination or killing of the other people belonging to other group. Then it can also because it is a violation of the fundamental rights. And then we have the freedom of individual to follow any or interpret it any way, if it's not causing any harm to the other community. So here is a again a drawing which is drawn by students of your age. See, hum saath saath hain. So here one they've drawn masjid, mandir, and gurudwara and god. Okay, so these are different religious symbols, or you can say prayer halls of different religions. What is Indian secularism? Now we've discussed, okay, we've discussed secularism means separation of religion from state. But what does Indian secularism means? Okay, Indian constitution mandates that India's state be secular. According to the constitution, only a secular state can realize its objective to ensure the ensure the following. So why is India secularism is a secular follows secularism? First, that one religious community does not dominate. There is no domination by any particular country. That some members do not dominate other members of the same religious community, and even within the same religious community, there might be people who would try to dominate the other members of the same community. That is also possible, and thus that the state does not enforce any particular religion nor take away the religious freedom. The religious everybody, we studied about cultural and cultural and religious freedom. Remember that you've the right to to practice and spread any religion of your choice. The Indian state works in various ways to prevent the above domination. First, it uses a strategy of distancing itself from religion. The Indian state is not ruled by a religious group, nor does it support any religion. So, because how is it done? Nobody, when we have the government. Okay, there's no religious group who is governing us in India. Government spaces like law courts, police stations, government schools, and etc. are not supposed to display a prom. There's no you would have gone to these government spaces like law courts or police station where you've seen that no religion is being promoted. Okay, you would not see any sign of any religion or symbol. In a government school in Simapur, students want to celebrate a religious festival. Now it's a government high school. So there's a big religious festival next month. We have never celebrated in school. Can we do it this year? I'm afraid this is impossible, Rekha. This is a government school. We cannot give importance to any one religion. Private schools may do that. Government schools don't celebrate any religious festivals in the school premises. Most religious festivals are public holidays, so that we can celebrate at home. I never thought of this. I never thought of it this way. I guess we can always celebrate it outside school. Anyway, we were planning to celebrate in our locality. So in the we've discussed, in this on the above storyboard discuss the answer given by the teacher. So he's saying that we are a government school and we cannot promote or specifically cannot this celebrate any particular religious functions, because firstly it's a government school and we're not allowed to promote any specific religion, and then all everybody is given a holiday, public holiday is given for the festivals, and you can celebrate it at your home. In the above story, would the celebration of religious festival within the school would have been a violation of government's policy of treating all religions, so treating all religions equally is a very important feature of the government's policy towards education. Government school cannot promote any one religion either in the morning prayers or through religious celebrations. Whether it's the morning prayer or any celebrations regarding any particular religion, there can be no promotion. This rule does not apply to private school, whereas this is not applicable for private schools. They're allowed to have any function or whatever they want. The second way in which Indian secularism works to prevent the above domination is through a strategy of non-interference. See, firstly, I am not promoting anything. I'm saying that like all the government spaces, they are having no posters or anything symbols of any religion, so they are not promoting it. Okay, second strategy is through non-interference, strategy of non-interference. Okay, this means that in order to respect the sentiments of all religions and not to interfere with religious practice or states, make certain exceptions for particular religious communities, and respect sentiments of all the religions, and not interfere with the religious practices. Government will not interfere, will not say that you should celebrate it like this, you should celebrate it like this. They will not say anything like you. They, for example, recently Janmashtami, just 2 days back it was the festival of Janmashtami. The government will not say that you will to jo matka hota hai, Krishna Bhagwan ka, you have to put it at 80 degree or 120 degree. Okay, they won't say anything like it is like they won't even interfere. They're like, you want to celebrate. It's a strategy of non-interference. Okay, government schools often have students from different religious backgrounds. Reread the above three objectives of secular states and right to sentence on why it is important that government schools do not promote any one religion. We've studied that domination, of course. We've studied that. Even we've studied intra community domination and that religious freedom. Okay, so a group of students who recently bought scooters are meeting to go for a ride together. Hey, I hope you have a helmet. The law in Delhi requires that you wear one. Why aren't you wearing a helmet? Don't you want to be fined? Don't worry, I'll not be fined. Hey Paramjeet, why won't you be fined? For six, wearing pagdi is a very important part of our religion. This government cannot force me to wear helmet. So he's telling between this is a conversation between a sick person, and maybe his religion is not mentioned, so he's saying, why are you not wearing a helmet? So he's saying that wearing pagadi, this is pagadi, okay, matlab turban, is wearing an important part of my religion, and therefore the government cannot force me to wear a helmet. In the above story, you heard Paramjeet, the Sikh youth does not have to wear a helmet. This is because the Indian state recognizes that wearing pagdi, which is turban, is central to Sikhs' religious practice, and in order not to interfere with this, allows an exception. So there's an exception in the law, that okay, we are letting you practice your religion, and that is why you're not. It's not compulsory for you to wear the helmet, but yes, of course, if you want, you can always wear it for your security purpose. The third way in which the Indian secularism works is to prevent the dominationist power is through a strategy of intervention. So first they have the strategy of firstly they are saying that you are allowed to whatever practice is going on, they do not interfere, matlab they have a separation of religion from the state, distancing itself from the religion. Second is a strategy of non interference, matlab whatever you are practicing, you are allowed to practice. And third is a strategy of intervention. You read it in the chapter about untouchability. This is a good example where people of the same religion, upper caste Hindus, dominate other members, some lower caste, within it. In order to prevent this religion based exclusion and discrimination of lower castes, the Indian constitution bans untouchability. In this instance, the state is intervening in religion in order to end social practice, and social practice that that it believes discriminates and excludes, because it discriminates and excludes certain people of the same community, and that violates the fundamental rights of lower caste who are citizens of this country. Similarly, to ensure the laws relating to equal inheritance rights are respected, the states have to intervene in the religious based personal laws of the communities, personal religion based personal law. So here when we're talking about, where we say that of course the state is not interfering with the religious freedom and etc, it only interferes when the personal laws of when the fundamental rights of any person is violated, then only they interfere in the personal laws of the community, religious based personal laws. The intervention of the state can also be in the form of support. The Indian constitution grants the right to religious communities to set up their own schools and colleges. It gives them financial aid on a non-preferential basis. In what ways is the Indian secularism different from that of other democratic countries? So how is it our way of giving secularism is different from others? Some of the above objectives are similar to those that have been included in the constitution of secular democratic countries in other parts of the world. For example, the First Amendment of the US Constitution prohibits the legislature from making laws respecting the establishment of religion, or that prohibits the free exercise of religion. For example, we've studied about US, where legislators the US constitution prohibits the legislature who makes laws from making laws respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibits the free exercise of religion. What is meant by establishment is that legislatures cannot declare any religion as the official religion, nor can they give preference to any religion, the same as we have, like we're not promoting any religion. In USA, the separation of state and religion means that neither the state nor the religion can interfere in the religions or in the religious affairs of another. So they're very separate. There is a one significant way in which Indian secularism differs from dominant understanding of the secularism as practiced in the USA. Of course, Indian and American differs. This is because strict separation of religion and state is there in American secularism, but in Indian secularism can interfere in the religious affairs, as we saw the case of untouchability in the Hinduism. You know. where we saw that Hindu religious practices untouchability, and then India's secularism through the state is not strictly separate from religion. It maintains a principled distance with a this thing religion, principled distance. So the concept of there's a concept of principled distance. This means that any interference in religion by the state has to be based on ideals laid out by the constitution. So even if the state is interfering, it has to be based on the ideals, of our constitution. These ideals serve as a standard through which we can judge whether the state is or not behaving in according to a secular principles. We have secular principles guided by our Indian constitution. The Indian state is secular and works in various ways to prevent religious domination. There are various ways through which religious domination is prevented. The Indian constitution guarantees fundamental rights that are based on these secular principles. However, that is not to say that there is no violation of these rights in Indian democracy. Indeed, it is precisely because such violations happen frequently that we need a constitutional mechanism to prevent them from happening. The knowledge that such rights exist makes us sensitive to the violation and enables us to take actions when these violations takes. So we have to be very sensitive to these kinds of violation. Can you think of a recent incident from any part of India when which the secular ideals of the constitution so violated, persons were prosecuted and killed because of their religious background? So a lot of times, we always give the example of Hindus and Muslims fighting for their religious. Example, the we'll say the Babri Masjid case is very famous, of course. So yeah, and so on. You can also look up at other examples of such. In February 2004, France passed a law banning students from wearing any conspicuous religious political signs or symbols such as Islamic headscarf, Jewish skull cap, or large Christian crosses. The law has encountered a lot of resistance from immigrants who are mainly from former French colonies of Algeria, Tunisia, Morocco. Um, in the 1960s, France has faced a shortage of workers and therefore has provided visas for fee for these workers and to come and work in France. The daughters of these immigrants often wear headscarves while attending school. However, with the passing of these no law, they have been expelled from the school for wearing headscarves. So France is very famous for its separation of state and religion. There are strict laws which were formed in 2004, and that wearing of any religious symbol, sign, or anything which symbolizes religion is completely banned. And if you are, for example, we learned the one example, even if you do, you are banned from the school. So there's this exercise. We have to do list the three different types of religious practice that you find in your neighborhood. This could be different forms of prayers, worship, etc., sacred sites, different kinds of religious music, singing. Does it indicate any freedom of religious practice? Yes, everybody is allowed to. Whether there's a temple, whether there's the recently celebrated Janmashtami 2 days back. Why does will the government intervene if some religious group says that religion allows them to practice infanticide? Give reasons. No. Of practice infanticide is like killing the younger fetus because maybe of some reasons, or yeah, abolition, especially female infanticide, because just because they are female, they are killed even before being born in the this thing, even being born and being brought out in the world, they are killed. So this is not allowed. If anything cannot be done in the name of religion, or anything cannot be done which is considered wrong according to a constitution in the name of fundamental right or freedom, that cannot be done, because there is reasonable restrictions are always there. We'll talk about this reasonable restrictions about in other class. Objective right is important example of the violation of the objective. One religious community does not dominate other. So why is it important? See, this whole about domination and everything, one group dominating other, is that because everybody um all the people in our country are equal according to a constitution. They're equal before law. They're allowed to practice their any kind of religion they want, freedom, cultural and religious right, and right to equality. So they are allowed to practice all those part. Okay, the state does not enforce any particular religion nor take up the religious freedom of individual. Why it is important? See, it is their belief. Okay, and belief as in like people, everybody has a way of style of living, and their freedom of their right to life cannot be taken. So here we have the right to cultural and religious freedom to culture and religious rights. That's we've already done those fundamental rights in the first chapter. That some members do not dominate other members of the same religious community. This is also part of the same thing, with the example of untouchability, because all people are equal, you know and there's no one above or below somebody. All the citizens are to be treated equal, whether it's before the law or within the whole society. Look up at the annual calendar of holidays to your school. How many of them pertain to different religions? So mostly all the religions are given equal priorities, whether it is Diwali, Eid, Easter's, or everything. Mostly the festivals are given equal importance, and there are holidays in the school calendar. Examples of different views within the same religion. Of course they have different views. Some example, the most common example is the leader. For example, the leader of the religion. Any Every religion has so many gurus or leaders from time to time. So in the same thing, if I am saying that I am from this particular religion, that is not necessary that I might treat one particular all the members of the same community might treat only one particular person as a leader, of that group, or somebody who represents that religion. There may be other, somebody might be treating another religion as a head, as their more. For example, yeah, for example, especially in Hindus, so there are so many gods. They all are part of the same religion. So we can see that whether in the examples of, yes, we the second important, yeah, the one we were talking about, that in Hindu, whether some people have different views while the other people have different views. For example, there in Hindus there are so many gods. I might be following Hanumanji more. Somebody else would be a worshipper of Lord Shiva. So that's how it is, and nobody is less or more in that, or nobody is above or below anybody. All are equal. For the Indian state both keeps away from the religion as well as intervenes in religion. The idea can be quite confusing. Discuss this once again in class using examples from this chapter as well as those you might have come up. So, what Indian secularism, it is all about principled distance. Okay, I'm saying that yes, we are separate, and we are not going to interfere in your work, nor are you going to interfere in our work, but it is going to be a principled distance, in the sense that there might be some times, because Indian secularism is all about protecting the rights of the people, the fundamental rights, and nobody should be treated unequally, or there shouldn't be discrimination or anything. So for that, it has to maintain a principle, a distance, that even if it happens that somebody is ill treated, they can intervene and equally protect. The poster alongside highlight the need for peace. It says peace is a never ending process. It cannot ignore our differences or overlook our common interests. Write in your own words, what do you think about the sentence are trying to convey? How does it relate to the need of religious tolerance? A peace that comes from fear and not from the heart is the opposite of peace. A peace. Okay, so here it's saying that peace is never ending process. It cannot ignore our differences or look our common or overlook our common interests. It requires us to work and live together. So these are very lines which actually try to emphasize on this, that how important it is to peace, and you cannot just overlook, because if you If that peace is not coming from your heart, then it is not peace, it is actually the opposite of it. This chapter has three drawings on religious tolerance made by the students. Design your, you can design your own poster, that what exactly uh, peace means to you, that secularism means to you. Coercion is to force someone to do something. In the context in chapter, it means to do force used by illegal authority like the state. You are forcing. I'm saying, if somebody saying I don't want to go to the market, and you're saying no, you have to come with me, why will you not come, how can you not come, and you're just forcing to do something. Okay, freedom to interpret, the independence that all persons shall have to understand things in their own way. The context of this chapter refers to the person's liberty to have their own understanding and meaning of their religion. So everybody can interpret religion differently. In the context of this chapter, it refers to intervene is the state's effort to influence a particular matter in accordance to the principles. See, you cannot, when we see intervene, okay, we mean that you cannot influence. Okay, a policy given by a government cannot influence a religion, or negatively cannot influence the religion. Positive changes are always welcomed, but then when it influences negative, that is the time for alarm. So we've done this chapter, and we've completed unit 1 also. So about Indian constitution. If there's some doubt, you can always comment down, or reach out to me. Till then, take care, and be healthy and stay positive. Bye.